And here we go. Ex inde, or ex in actually. This author uses ex in a lot, so it means afterwards or then. Levi itinere, by a light march, quator diorum, of 4 days, were actually, that's ablative, so per acto they were completed, so a light journey was completed of 4 days. And then this little ablative is present participle, means with vespera incende, so with vespers falling, or twilight falling, so night was coming. Cum expeditus mille impositus. So we have 1,000 expeditus. These are soldiers whose feet are not encumbered, literally, so they're lightly armed. They were impositus in navibus, so they were placed on the ships. And we have a nominative, lucinus combs in this late Roman Empire means usually translated as Count Lucinus. Combs usually means friend, but by this stage it's a title. So Count Lucinus mittat, passive, he was sent, imperio principis, by order of the principus, the emperor. We have an accusative in the Greek form, so he was sent to this place. And we have a purpose here. In the future, he would be expugnaturising it. So Lucinus the Count, he was going to storm or attack this accusative place, the fortified Anathem, which is in Mesopotamia. Monumentum just means fortified, so it's a fortress. Quod ut pleriqui alia, which, as many other people, pleriqui alia, looks like many other places, circumluita. Circuita means around, luita means washed up usually, because of the fluentibus Euphrates. So the waters of the Euphrates are flowing circum around this place and around it, and that luita's up on this little fortress place. I'll just X in there. Yeah, this author uses X in quite a lot. Et navibus, and with the ships, ut praesetimus, as it had been ordered, per opportuna, so it's opportune places, suitable places. The navibus were dispersus, so ships were dispersed or set out as ordered through the opportune places, and the insula was obsidiabator, so it was besieged. The lobe actually has insula before obsidiabator, and this bit here was in brackets, if it makes any effect to you. And in a nebulosa nocte, so in a cloudy night or misty, obombrante, so it's covering and hiding them, it made their impetum, in which the verb here, which they besieged, was a clandestine impetum, a clandestine attack, covered up by the misty night. So things are looking good. Chapter 7. Sed postquem advenat lux certa, but after a certain light that was certain enough to see through the nebulosa, had arrived, quatum quidem egressus. Okay, so there was a quidem, a certain person, egressus, he's already done this, having egressed. It's a verb of motion with a supine quatum for purpose, so he went out for the purpose of getting water. Visus subito hostibus, so having suddenly seen the enemy, he sublato, so he raised a clamor ululabilai, which is a wailing type of clamor, a shout. Excitos tomulos vocibus, so excited the propugnators, which meant they were going to fight back. Pugnators are fighters, propugnators, people who are going to fight back. And with their tumultuous voices, these propugnators armavided themselves, so they took to arms. Et mox, and soon a specula quadem from a certain watchtower, specula, it's female. Altissima means very high, it's a superlative. Exploratus sito castrum. So from a high place, we were situated for exploration of camps, so he's looking for a campsite from a watchtower. Quam occisme, as you know, quam with a superlative means as much as, so occisme It's the adverb for quick, so it means quem ocissime means as quickly as possible, with duarum presidio navum. So the cum is taking a presidio, which is a garrison or protection, and we're half split there, and the other genitives here, so double genitive, with the protection of 2 ships. The imperator, he's the male who's doing it. Explorato. So the emperor who was looking from a high watchtower, looking for a place for a camp as quickly as possible with the protection of 2 ships, he supermiated. So he went over the Amnum, over the river. Mio usually means walking or something, but I don't think he was walking. He had 2 ships, and Pone means behind him. Sequentibus, following, were multis navigas. So he went with 2 ships crossing the river. There was many ships behind, which were quaying, which were a relative, which were adverbanting, which meant they were carrying. Ad just means forward. Obsidionales machines, machines for the obsidian, for the besieging. So the machines used for besiegements were in these multis ships. Okay, so a daily dictionary is a specular. First declension, watchtower or lookout. Specular looks like it's plural of the speculum, which is a mirror, and is also a diminutive for slight hope. So this specular was definitely the watchtower, the lookout. So 8, yamqui, and now propinquans, present participle. He's coming close to a dative, to the muris, which are the walls. Cum non absqui. Now, we don't see absqui a lot. Usually we have abex de cum sine pro as the ablative useful things. This one's a bit rarer. It usually means something like free from, or there's not much, and it's taking this ablative here, discriminabus multus. So he considered that esse curtendums. That's actually a comma. So he was thinking that there must be fought curtandum, not without absqui, many of these crises or dangers, the discriminabus multus. And he had a sermon, like a sermon, a conversation. Cum lenai tum aspero. So there was softer bits and then harsher bits, aspero bits, and a bit of threatening, and he was encouraging them. Who was he encouraging? The defenders, the defensors, to deditionem, which meant to surrender. So he's gone close to the walls. He was considering that it would be fought, not free from a few dangers or crises. He had a sermon with him. He was soft, he was harsh, he was threatening. He wanted them to surrender. These people the defenders, with a petition, they had wanted to have a colloquium with him. A colloquium was a conversation with Ormizda, the guy we saw yesterday. If you take the Z out and put an S, you get the English version. So, promissa eos and juramentus. So, with his promises and his oaths, basically, they were elected they were spondaband. So they were promised to themselves de lenitude Romana. This means the Romans would go leniently on them. So basically that's what chapter 8, section 8 is about. They were promised if they surrendered in this dedicationem, that they had promises and oaths that the Romans would promise they'd be treated well. Deniqui. So finally, pray. This can mean in front of, sometimes it means because of, sometimes used for comparison, but they are ganting, so they're driving, pray say before them, bovum coronatum. Corona is like a little crown, it's made of garlands, so there's a bovum would be a bull or an ox, which has a crown of garlands on it. Quod est, which is apudios amongst these people, suscepte, undertaken or taken up as an indicum pacis, as an indication of peace, and they descenderade. I don't know if this is from the Muris, but they came down with this adverb here, a supplica, as supplicants, or that's probably the simplest way of putting it, and statim immediately, minimento omni incenso, the whole fortress was burnt down. Okay, I haven't read this before, so it's pretty interesting. Pusaeus Eos Praefectus, so this guy Pusaeus was the prefect. Dux Egypti, so afterwards he became a general of the Egyptians, or he had some sort of promotion, and affected us with the honour of tribunatus. So he burnt the place down, then he became the general in Egypt, and he was honoured with a tribunatus, tribuneship. The reliquae, plural. The remainders, vero, but or moreover the remainders, cum caritatibus suis, so with their dear ones and their sapelices, their furniture. Cultus a fourth. Sometimes it means their dress or their training. I'd say it's the care here. With a rather humane care, the rest were treated with a rather humane caring. This is a comparative in the ablative. And ad syricam civitatum chalcida transmissa. So plural, they were transmitted or sent to Syria, and this is a state or city region. Chalcedea was this city, it looks like. 10. Interhos, amongst these are the people who were transmissed to Chalcidice, or something it's called in English. There was a quidam miles, a certain soldier. Cum Maximus, when Maximus perrupted, had bursted, quondam, long ago, once upon a time. So he'd come into the Persian lands, Persicos Phanes, and so there was a quidam miles who was relictus. He was left behind in these places. I just want to say in this place, and he was agar, which means he was sick. So he'd been left behind sick once upon a time under this guy's time. Prima etiam tun languine humanus. So he was even then in the first signs of his youth with the languine. This is like the bum fluff, or whatever they call it, like when you're just starting to have a little beard, ut abet, as they say, or as he was saying, and uxos sortitus gentis ritu. So by the rights of this race, he was had drawn uxors complores, many wives, and he had cum numerosus sobols, so it looks like he had numerous offspring. And tung, at this time, then, he was a senex incurvus. Incurvus means you're bent over, so his spine was bent from old age, and he was exultans, whether that's an adjective or a past or a present participle. He was exultant. He was the auctor, the author, ducabator, leading in the proditionis qui. So he was the author of leading this surrender ad nostra to us. Affirming with testibus, so he affirmed with witnesses at the to them also. Praescisca, he knew in advance that olim can sometimes mean the future. And he had predixes, he had said in advance, and he knew in advance that once quod centennia iam contiguous sepulti in solo romano. So it looks like when he's 100 years old, which the future yam would mean in the future, he would be sepulted, he would be buried in solo romano, in Roman soil. So if you take all that, it was all about this little guy who was 100 years old. He's bent over, he was abandoned there when he was sick years ago. He's got all his wives and offspring, and he was leading them into surrender to the Romans. And he had witnesses testifying that he had already known and predicted that when he was 100, contiguous, he would be buried in Roman soil. Okay. Postque, after which, Saracens, plural, the Saracens, we have accusative, procursores quosdem, so that certain procursors, these are people who skirmish at the front line, who were partis hostium, who were part of the enemy, the Saracens obtulerated them, so they bought them, latissimo principi, to the great happiness of the leader, latissimo is probably the emperor, and the Saracens were munerati, given gifts. And then agenda similia sunt remissi. Then they were remissi, sent back to a similar agenda to do similar things. I think that's it for the day. Yeah, it is. Just check what the lobe has here. What have we got? After receiving rewards were sent back. Yeah, pretty much the same thing.